can't be contained. He cannot be contained. Welcome, everybody, to the 7th episode of Downloadable Brain. I'm your host, Brain44, where we don't like the sound of our voice too much, but we just keep talking because everybody's so damn persistent to chime in. And today's episode is going to be titled, Cannot Be Contained. Let me discuss what I mean. First, I want to talk about the power dynamic between an abuser and their target. I posted a brief lecture about this on my YouTube channel, if anybody is interested in hearing it. At Spiritual Advisor Official, for those of you who are listening on different platforms. To get to know and understand how an abuser thinks and operates, you first need to endure a lot of their narcissistic, cold and calculated methods of attack. As you endure their abuse and they lie on you or to you, you will understand their true intentions for you, and also how they use people around them in order to follow their own narratives at the extent of being very selfish and self-centered. When my frenemies, haters, or any other people choose to study this information, it becomes clearly impossible for them to attack when you reveal their hidden mask to themselves as well as their own friends, family, co-workers, and lovers. When the cat is out the bag, it is what it is. Just be mindful of how a psychopath becomes emotionally irresponsible once you choose to call them out for their weaknesses and or lies. At this point, they will become more aggressive in the approach, but the best thing you can do is to remain no contact. Now I want to dive deeper in depth regarding any person or group abusing or targeting people. It can happen inside of the school system, communities, the workplace, but social media is the biggest culprit, which is almost set up in a way for abusive people to be rewarded for very bad behavior. As somebody who's ongoingly studying the abuser, I like to chirp back, being that little birdie that I am. So I'm just kind of like, chirp, 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 I'm chirping back. And I called today's podcast Cannot Be Contained because it's very fitting towards the narrative. You're allowed to dislike a person, but if you think you can just go around saying and doing whatever you want to abuse people who do not mess with you or even talk to you, you're probably sadly mistaken. A lot of people don't care in the rat race because they all just want to become successful. But there's no such thing as a successful bully, no matter how much money or validation they get. If they gotta play on somebody's energy like that, the only thing they become successful of is somebody being controlling towards them. But when they try to control us, target us, or feel entitled to something that is ours, we chirp back, being the little birdies that we are. Chirp, chirp, chirp. So when a TikTok smear campaign goes out on you, you're thinking avoid it like the plague, right? Well, the problem with that is avoiding the problem doesn't make the problem go away. And I can honestly say, as somebody with personal experiences of being abused, when I did go away, choosing to not only quit music, but also get off social media, I observed people become even more aggressive with the power dynamic rather than leave well enough alone. They went in even harder on the targeting. So I came back to making music. I came back to being a content creator. I'm on YouTube. I got some music-related stuff in the works. But the biggest one for me is when they use a platform like TikTok to intentionally drive forward a smear campaign, rewarding themselves on your name and thinking that they have won. So in this situation, what do? You make a TikTok account and start posting videos. That's exactly what I did. If you guys have never seen my TikTok, let me know how you rock, but it's the same handle as my YouTube channel, Spiritual Advisor Official. I'm on YouTube and TikTok, which is good enough for me at this time. I don't currently see a need for any other politically related platforms. A platform becomes political. I'm ignorant to use it since I don't hold an official spot in politics, aside from being your social media advisor, therapist, and good doctor. So what do we do when we get abused, targeted, and smeared? One option is to go just as hard as those who smear you. But if you do that and you take that route, it's almost like you become no different than the person who was willing to hurt and abuse you for a cruelty-based reward system. That's why I stand very firm on my cancel cruelty culture narrative, and I always encourage everybody to use their own influence or power to jump on board with the cancel cruelty culture campaign. When you try to cancel cancel out cruelty culture, the hateful Henrys and the negative Nancys will turn up, but they were already there anyways. You can't force them out the door, but when they try to force people out the door who don't use their skills, power, or influence to hurt people back, you have to always show up for yourself and be an example of what not to be. Because everybody's comfortable doing the same sort of stuff, right? Just as long as they get the validation they need from being mean. We can be mean to them too, but there's a more honorable way to go about having an argument with an abusive tyrant or a clout-chasing imbecile. You use some of their tactics against them, not to bully them specifically, but remind them that every single thing they choose to build themselves up on is nothing that is guaranteed or will last forever. So if somebody brags about being wealthy or physically fit, and they have a lot of friends, they drive a nice car, they got a big house, they win awards, whatever the bragging, it's not guaranteed. It's what is current. And the best way to remind them that it's only current is to challenge every single thing that they use to prop themselves up with. I can provide a brief explanation on how it's done. If a person brags about being rich, downplay their finances and challenge it, saying their money is lazy money. They don't really work hard enough to obtain that money. When a physically fit person brags about being amazing, remind them that having too much self-love is actually unhealthy. There's nothing wrong with aspiring to be a fitness model or somebody like that if that's what you want to do, but they may have a flawed perception of reality if they think that they're better than somebody else based on that. And if you don't believe me, study some of the people who are considered to be the most beautiful in the world. I once heard a woman who's considered gorgeous to every man who exists, according to society standards, and myself included, that she does not feel attractive. I'm not going to say the name because I know I'll catch a hard time for it. I think she looks damn good, and so does every other guy, but she doesn't think she does. And if she does not think that, imagine having to live up to that standard every single day of her life when people hold her to that standard. I can relate as a spiritual person whose religious extremist critics sometimes view me as a biblical figure or something like that. But I'm not the standard they hold me to of being a biblical prophecy. I never really was. I'm a sinner as much as anybody else living in this world. I just choose not to commit crimes or hurt people because it doesn't align with my morals and principles. Without morals and principles, what do we have? I don't know, you tell me. I'm just your spiritual governor, not an official. But I'm somebody who's very well seen and heard. So as long as that is the case, I'll do whatever I can to provide an example of what not to be. What not to be is a rodent who accepts validation based on a reward system of cruelty, and to agree to hurt others or betray those close to you in order for cheap promises, career opportunities, and short-term financial success does not make you anything special. Think about it. Would you rather achieve financial success by doing the work yourself, or would you agree to a cruelty culture? If you agree to cruelty culture, you may be working for people who are very diabolical, narcissistic, and abusive themselves. And rather than thinking that you have the power over somebody who you're targeting or abusing because somebody told you to do it above you, you're actually being controlled by that same person. And don't think just because you accept a dirty offer from them today that tomorrow they won't throw you under the bus, because betrayal is a hell of a thing, and it's a part of business when you get involved with people who conduct dirty dealings. My advice is to do your own thing, to be your own person, and if you see something shady going on in the workplace, tell the supervisor how inappropriate the behavior is. If you're an influencer on social media and you see it, do the same thing. Tell the other participants how inappropriate their behavior is. Living your life to be hateful, take shortcuts, and half-ass your skills or abilities is the key to being controlled and bred by a true psychopath. But guess what, digital fam? We cannot be contained. That's my pop song for the day. Thanks for rocking with me. You all know where to find me on my socials now that I've told you, since everybody was not aware. Have a good one, everybody.